Welcome to Hoboken. Welcome to the north end of Hoboken. We are standing in the middle of the 3 blocks that are at the heart of this whole story involving the Christie administration and Dawn Zimmer, the mayor of Hoboken. Mayor Zimmer basically says members of the Christie administration said they would hold up Sandy 8 unless she approves the development deal. Do you believe her?
I do.
I don't know why she would wait all this time to say anything.
Of course she's telling the truth. She's not a politician.
The Rockefeller Group owns this block. They own another block around here and most of a third block. They want to develop it into something big.
This is precious real estate for the city of Hoboken as well as all of North Jersey.
You can see the view of Manhattan. That's the Hudson River, New York City right on the other side. You can see why this is such valuable land.
I'm hearing a lot of anger that there's a possibility that relief aid might have been tied to development.
Do you believe her?
I guess someone's going to have to come down and prove it. That's what it's going to boil down to.
Well, it was last weekend that Dawn Zimmer, the mayor of Hoboken, New Jersey, sat on this set and leveled a serious allegation that Chris Christie's lieutenant governor, Kim Guadagno, had pulled her aside at a May 2013 event and explicitly linked her city's level of Sandy aid to the approval of a development project that is represented by the firm of one of Christie's top political allies. And that another top administration official, Community Affairs Commissioner Richard Constable, had delivered a similar, if less explicit, message a few days later. By making those allegations, Zimmer plunged herself and her city, a densely populated city of 50,000 people, it's just 1 square mile, into the national political spotlight. And she created a serious political and legal headache for the already embattled Christie administration. Here is the chain of events that was set off by Mayor Zimmer's appearance on this show 8 mornings ago. On Sunday, just over 24 hours after that appearance, Dawn Zimmer met with officials at the office of the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey. And according to the mayor, the hastily arranged meeting was at the request of federal prosecutors. And she shared with them the story she told us on this show. And she also turned over her personal diary, which contains apparently contemporaneous accounts of her interactions with Guadagno and Constable. Then on Monday, Guadagno made her first and so far only public comment on the mayor's accusation.
In short, Mayor Zimmer's version of our conversation in May of 2013 is not only false, but is illogical and does not withstand scrutiny when all of the facts are examined. Any suggestion that Sandy funds were tied to the approval of any project in New Jersey is completely false.
Zimmer then put out this response to Guadagno's public statement, quote, "I am genuinely disappointed that Lieutenant Governor Guadagno has lived up to her promise that she would deny linking Hoboken's application for Sandy hazard mitigation funding with expediting a private development project." That same day, on Monday, Christie administration aggressively pushed back against the idea that Hoboken has received less than its fair share of Sandy money. They argued that, quote, Hoboken has in no way lost out on relief funds. They noted that, quote, nearly $70 million worth of funding for direct recovery and rebuilding efforts in Hoboken has been received and approved. But that $70 million mainly involves funds that went directly to individuals and businesses, mainly in the form of flood insurance payments. It's not money that Christie had direct discretionary control over. Then on Wednesday, Zimmer, who appeared on several other national broadcasts after her interview on this show, on Wednesday she announced that at the request of the U.S. Attorney's Office, she would have no further public comments. In her statement, she added that, quote, "I stand by my previous statements and remain willing to testify under oath about all the facts in this case." By that same day, Wednesday, the FBI had made its way to Hoboken, interviewing what NBC News' Michael Isikoff reports are, quote, at least 5 witnesses who Zimmer told the FBI could confirm that she had previously told them about the conversation she says she had with Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno last May. One of those who Zimmer told is apparently a city councilman named David Mello. An ally of Zimmer's in Hoboken, Mello told the New York Times that he remembers hearing from her last year about, quote, this quid pro quo ultimatum by the lieutenant governor. Now, Wednesday night, the Hoboken City Council held its first meeting after Zimmer leveled her accusation. One member of the council, Beth Mason, who's a leader of the opposition to Zimmer on the council and who ran against her for mayor in 2009, asked her to attend to discuss the allegations. But Zimmer didn't show up. At this present time, she wrote in a memo to the council, it is best that I do not speak publicly about this matter any further or do anything that might be perceived as interfering with or jeopardizing the U.S. Attorney's work. So that's where we are now. The U.S. Attorney's Office is on the case. Mayor Zimmer is clamming up. We haven't heard anything more from Kim Guadagno, nor have we heard Christie himself publicly rally to his lieutenant governor's defense. And the same debate that's playing out across New Jersey and across the country. Is Dawn Zimmer telling the truth? Why did she wait so long to come forward? Can anything be proven? That debate is raging in Hoboken as well. Here to talk about Hoboken and everything going on there right now are two people who know the woman and the city and the development deal at the heart of all of this better than almost anyone. We have David Mello. He's the Hoboken City Councilman who says Zimmer told him about her conversation with Guadagno last year. And we have Beth Mason, the aforementioned councilwoman, who has been skeptical of Zimmer's allegations. So thanks for joining us, both of you. I know it's a long trip over here from Hoboken to this side of the river. But I'll start with you, David. We want to make things clear. You have been quoted publicly this week saying you had some kind of conversation about some kind of quid pro quo ultimatum from the lieutenant governor to Kim Guadagno to Mayor Zimmer. And the status right now is you're waiting to talk to the U.S. attorney, and you don't want to talk about that any further. Is that?
Absolutely. I stand by the statements I've made to the press, but I think it would compromise the investigation of the U.S. attorney to rehash those statements I've made with the press. I am eager, though, to share that information with the U.S. attorney, and I will be doing so this week. Okay.
And Beth, you invited the mayor to speak this week at the council meeting. She didn't show up. I've seen some skeptical quotes from you about the story she's telling. Can you explain your reaction to what she's alleging?
Sure. I wouldn't necessarily say they're skeptical. I think that the citizens of Hoboken, of whom I represent and Councilman Mello represents, deserve the right to know. They deserve the knowledge to hear from their mayor directly. They also, the council members themselves, deserve the right to know what's going on. It seems that some council people know some information while the rest of us are kept in the dark. The city council is the oversight body for the city of Hoboken and for this redevelopment area. And to have us be in the dark for more than 250 days is like, I just find that unacceptable.
Well, so what is with the U.S. Attorney's Office, with the FBI agents in Hoboken, I think now, looking around and trying to get to the bottom of this, what do you think the proper course of action is for the mayor? I mean, she's made the allegation. She's now going to the U.S. Attorney. They've asked her to be quiet, and they are clearly looking into this. What is the proper step she should take?
First of all, they've not told us to be quiet. We've not heard from the U.S. Attorney or the FBI at all. We've gotten no letter from the city attorney. We've heard nothing other than statements that have been made. The public still has the right to know, and we as the oversight body, just like the state legislature has the right to ask for people to come before them and ask them questions about what actually transpired, especially when there's a project that's on our docket at the moment. If these allegations are true, which are serious, they're very serious, and I'm concerned for our city if these allegations are true, because we have a number of development projects in our town. If that's on our docket now, we need to know that. We need to know, and the citizens had a right to know that before the election. 250 days in between that was actually an election that took place. You know, our governor was on the ballot and the mayor was on the ballot, and it could have potentially changed the direction of that election.
Well, so let's talk about that project and its role in Hoboken. We're talking about this Rockefeller Group project. We just showed some video from the site right there. Tell us from a Hoboken standpoint, how big a deal has this been in town? What does this potential development mean to the town? Has this really been a driving force in local politics?
Well, it is a very big deal, and there are a number of projects in Hoboken, not just this project that's being proposed by the Rockefeller Group in northern Hoboken. In southern Hoboken, we have New Jersey Transit is proposing building a tremendous amount of construction. What I want for the citizens of Hoboken is that their quality of life. What they need is taken into consideration when all of these projects are working their way through the legal process. There's a redevelopment process in the state of New Jersey, and it has to be followed. So we cannot talk to the Rockefeller Group before we've made a designation. We very recently made a designation of that area in which their property is contained as an area in need of rehabilitation. Now the next proper step is to hire a planner and start planning out that area, taking into consideration first and foremost the needs of Hoboken. It shouldn't be anything where a governor of the state of New Jersey has been trying to impose his will on the project. So if that happened, if that was what went on with Sandy funding, I want that investigated for the citizens of Hoboken, and I also want to continue to advocate that the citizens of Hoboken get the Sandy funding we need so we can be a resilient community.
And what about that question of Sandy funding? I want to get this in because the Associated Press last night, there's been a lot of talk. The Christie people have been pushing back, saying actually Hoboken did not get a raw deal in Sandy funding. We took you through a little bit of their numbers in the intro there. The Associated Press was reporting last night, basically saying Hoboken's received, it's been on par with other New Jersey towns. The state awarded $25 million for energy projects to help deal with outages. Hoboken received $142,000, the same amount as 39 other recipients. State also provided money to communities hit by the storm to hire experts and come up with long-term recovery plans. Hoboken's $200,000 grant was the fourth highest allocation among the 35 local governments in the program. Beth, do you buy what the governor's office is saying? Do you think this story has it right? Did Hoboken get what it deserves, or do you share the mayor's view that Hoboken needs a lot more to be prepared for the next storm?
Well, I represent the city of Hoboken. I'd like to have as much money as our town could possibly get in. And, you know, I will work with the mayor, I will work with the councilman, and I've said that at the council meeting, that we should work all together to get as much allocation as we possibly can for our citizens. The issue here is more about under what context that is happening in. And if the councilman knew back in the summer that this was going on, why was that not brought to the council? Why were we not told? He's trained as an attorney. What did he tell the mayor and how to respond to that? So these are questions that I think the public has a right to know, especially given there were decisions made in the interim in that time frame that were, you know, the citizens of Hoboken made a decision to make a vote to do.
Steve, you know, the mayor has gone on the press in the past week and made very clear why she didn't come forward earlier. And to talk about it any further, from my standpoint, I wanted to have those discussions with the U.S. Attorney's Office so that they can give this matter the investigation it deserves. But getting back to what you were talking about, the funding, you know, we did receive, when it came to the energy allocations, the same amount of funding as many other municipalities, including Upper Saddle River. We received the same amount of funding as them. I don't think that's fully appropriate because I've worked in Upper Saddle River when I was going to law school in the summer. It is much further upland. It is way far away from the coast, and it's not dealing with the same situation. It's not about whether Hoboken received equitable treatment. It's about whether Hoboken received treatment that it deserves, given its proximity to the Hudson River and given the flooding that we experienced. A more important issue is the hazard mitigation grant program. This was $100 million it was crafted so that to be eligible for it, you had to have a shore home. Now, my parents have had a shore home on Long Beach Island since the 80s. I've been going there since the 70s. I was delighted that the state is providing money to residents up to $30,000 to raise their homes. A lot of people haven't raised their homes, particularly if they were built prior to the 80s when that was put into local ordinances, and that money is needed. What I would have liked to have seen was for that funding to be also crafted so that if you live in an urban municipality like Hoboken and you were decimated by this flooding, which we were, ground level apartments, basement level apartments, they can't put themselves up on stilts. They can't bring in the contractors and put their building up on jacks. They often own a very expensive condominium, which has condominiums above it which weren't affected by the storm in the same way.
Right.
We would have liked to have seen the utilities, things like that be able to be raised, and for this funding source to be something that would have given our residents an ability to apply for that grant.
It strikes me that this argument about the funding level that Hoboken received is central to this, and it's also completely beside the point. And it's central to it because you can make the argument you just made that the way the entire program was structured at the statewide level, that a city like Hoboken, the unique circumstances of a mile-square city on the banks of the Hudson River that was 80% underwater, you're not going to be eligible under the criteria the state has set up for most of the aid. It's going to go to shore towns, it's going to go to land buyback programs, things like that. that. So that's, I think, a totally relevant and valid argument to make. At the same time, it's also beside the point, because the allegation that the mayor has made is, look, I don't think my city got enough. That's what she sat here saying. And she's publicly said that. I don't think my city got enough. And she's saying the response she got from the administration wasn't, yeah, you did get enough. The response she's saying she got from the administration is, well, if you want more, you need to expedite the project. And that's the question that the U.S. Attorney is now looking at, and that's what she's gone and talked to them about. Anyway, we are out of time here. I'm sorry, but my thanks to Hoboken City Council members David Mello and Beth Mason. We appreciate you taking a few minutes this morning. We talked about the woman making the explosive accusations involving the Christie administration in the city of Hoboken. What about the woman she made those allegations against? We're going to be talking about Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno. That is next.
It was in the Malibu Diner 4 years ago, more than that, in the summer of 2009, that the previous mayor of Hoboken, Pete Camarano, this young guy who'd been elected about a month earlier, sat down with a guy who was working undercover for the FBI, posing as a developer, who offered him $25,000 in illegal campaign donations if he would fast-track his development deals. So once he became mayor, Camarano said yes. A couple weeks later, he was arrested, had to give up his job as mayor. Dawn Zimmer became the mayor because of that. And that takedown, which the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey sort of had led, was initiated under Chris Christie, who was running for governor at the time, helped make him governor. So something that happened there helped make Chris Christie governor and made Dawn Zimmer mayor.